Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter.
I don't know what Coco Vanderwolf was doing for like the first 2 seconds of this video,
She's
but
trying to get some love,
I
like
get-
all of us out there.
I guess so. But we are all here to discuss some new NCIS Season 17, Episode 20 sneak peeks. This is the Arizona. This is the big Christopher Lloyd episode. It's going to be the last episode of Season 17. Insert frowny face here. But I think this one is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
We'll talk through everything we see in these sneak peeks and what to be excited about. But also, there's something more to be excited about. On Monday, we will have an interview posted on CARTERMATT, the site, with executive producer Frank Cardea and also Gina Monreal, who's the co-executive producer, and also she wrote this episode, and she's got a lot of really interesting insight. You also may know Gina from a lot of the work that she's done with the Ziva arc, so it's going to be a fun episode, I think, to explore, and there's a lot of emotional stuff I would expect as well. But before we dive into these sneak peeks, if you guys do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates that we have coming up. All right, so
Let's just start with the Christopher Lloyd of it all. Come on.
Yeah.
We can't go into this episode and not start with that. I mean, he's an icon. He's a legend. Everybody has some kind of connection to him. Like for me, I loved him the first time I really got into him. I'd seen Back to the Future and I loved all the other stuff he did, but I really love the Addams Family. So the first time I ever really was like, all right, I'm all in on Christopher Lloyd. That was it.
and for me, it was Back to the Future. I mean, as soon as I saw Doc Brown, and there was also this period of time where I was starting to lose my hair, and then the sides of my hair would just poof out, I could really pull off like young Doc Brown. Cast me in the Doc Brown prequel, everyone. No, but
You just want to be Christopher Lloyd like all of us. Get in line.
I know, really. Especially, like, even in this episode. I mean, he's playing a guy in his 90s, but he's still spry and cranky. And you even get a good sense of this within the first sneak peek that CBS has released. It seems as though Joe Smith has been accused of some potential Purple Heart thievery that is going on here.
And he seems to have no problem saying that he did it. He's demanding root beer. He's just walking out the room.
The best part of this is he's just kind of moving along here and gives comment that he's not going to outrun you, Torres.
Yeah, and Torres is like, should I go get him? Oh, he's not going to outrun you.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedy in here. Like, I'm sure
there's
going to be some emotional stuff, but this entire preview is just funny.
And I think if you have Christopher Lloyd, I mean, you're going to have a little bit of comedy in there.
You have to.
He's so funny.
I love him demanding root beer. I love the complete uncaringness that he seems to have about potentially a pretty grave crime. It's one thing to steal, but it's another thing to steal a Purple Heart. I mean, this is a very important symbol of heroism. It is something that is not taken lightly. There is going to be steep consequences, but I think we have a lot of questions still about why would a guy like Joe Smith take a Purple Heart, especially given that he is claiming that he is a survivor of what happened on the USS Arizona, so he knows a lot about military heroism.
And why is he admitting it? Like, there's obviously a bigger story here. Like, he has stolen this, or he's accused of stolen this, and he's saying he's done it, so what's the game?
Yeah, we don't know the full game just yet. All we know is that he really seems to want to be laid to rest on the Arizona. Mm-hmm. That's sort of been out there in the previews, and we'll have to sort of connect the dots when all of this airs. But I think what's going to be really sort of fascinating from all of this is that this guy, and I mean, maybe it's just that Gibbs has a kinship with other cranky people because Gibbs relates to that sort of spirit very much, but it seems as though Gibbs, I don't know if we can call it affection, but it seems like he has an interest in Joe and his story, because when we pick up on that second sneak peek, he's having a pretty interesting argument with Vance. And
yeah, because Vance and even Sloane seem to be more of, okay, the victim here isn't Joe. The victim here are the people who lost the Purple Heart. Like, these are the people who were supposed to be here for, but your focus seems to be that Joe is some sort of the victim in this, and we need you to get back on our side here to find, what happened. Like, why did he take this heart? Where is this heart? What is going on? And they're really pushing hard. It has been a good long while since we've had some good Slibs moments. This is not one of them. This is just like, they are not on the same page here. And yeah.
That's weirdly kind of why I like them sometimes. I think it's good to have somebody challenge Gibbs who's not just a superior, because Vance is the boss, and Vance is one of the few people who can actually kind of tell Gibbs what to do. It's not like Gibbs is always going to listen to what Vance says.
Yeah, and I mean, Sloane and Gibbs have a deeper relationship. They are friends. I think there's a little something more going on off screen.
Yeah.
But that's something else. But I think that their relationship is in a different spot. So if there's going to be kind of someone who's going to be able to really call Gibbs out and be like, hey, pay attention. The person who is the victim in this case is not this person. It is the Purple Heart people. Let's get back on track with this. It's going to be her. I mean, they have that kind of relationship. It's been established. And it works both ways for them, where we have seen it go the other way too, where he's been able to, get her out of when she's kind of like in a one-track mind as well.
I think their relationship and their dynamic, it's come into some interesting places where now they can have these sort of disputes and they can be on different pages. But then, when the dust settles, they still care about each other. They'll still be there for each other. I'm sure this too shall pass. I don't know who's going to win out, though. Or are we going to be Team Gibbs or Team Sloane and Vance?
Yeah, I mean, it's all based on sort of this thing with this Joe guy of like, why did he take this? What is the purpose of this? So, I mean, clearly there's got to be something behind it that Gibbs is getting really passionate about, where he thinks that there's something to protect Joe about.
And I think Gibbs's intuition, it is often correct.
Yeah.
But we also know that Gibbs, he has a soft spot in his heart, obviously, for service and people who give their lives or at least do their best to protect this country. And maybe that does cloud his judgment. The ultimate question at the heart of this episode is pretty simply, do we ultimately believe that Joe is who Joe says that he is? And I think that's going to be sort of a fascinating part of all of this. Because if Joe is lying, Gibbs is not just going to throw the book at him. Gibbs is going to go and find, those old industrial-sized phone books that used to be in the phone booths.
Yeah.
He's going to throw one of those at him. Like, it's going to be bad.
There might be one of those in Ducky's office.
Yeah, he's a historian. He's probably got 20
all
of them.
The books.
He's going to throw all of Ducky's office at him if this guy is lying about who he says he is. And so there's a couple of different interesting ways this story could go. We could have sort of a really emotional end to the end of it, or we could have just this really angry kind of end to it, where Gibbs is intent on getting justice, not just for the stolen Purple Heart, but that he's been emotionally manipulated in some way by this guy.
How cool is it going to be to have Christopher Lloyd and Mark Harmon doing scenes together? I mean, we've only gotten a tiny bit here with them in the hotel room, but everybody's there. But like, these two guys on screen, man.
If there is not at least like 3 really awesome scenes between the two of them in this episode,
I'll even just take one. I just want to see some really good, these are both really intense actors. So, I mean, I just want to see some good, just one. Just give me one good scene with these two.
I think really we can't have huge expectations for a lot of Slivs. We can't have expectations for a lot of Alec. I don't expect a lot of that. But if we get some really good stuff with Christopher Lloyd, if we get some powerful messages through this episode, It's not going to be a typical finale, but I believe it can be a satisfying one. And while we don't know if NCIS is coming back, it's probably coming back, so I don't think we have to be devastated that they don't address everything we want them to address.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that Christopher Lloyd is the guest star, I was kind of like, okay, so they're not going to really be focusing in on more of the personal ships that are going on. I mean, you have Christopher Lloyd. I mean, you're going to want to put him in every second of every scene that you possibly can. So I hope, and I say this as someone who's on the ships, that that's not really the focus of this episode. I want to see Christopher Lloyd, and I'm in this episode to see him.
Let the man do all of his good stuff, and if he's not able to, if he doesn't have enough time, we will just borrow the DeLorean, jump in it, and go back to when they were making this episode and put more for him to do in.
Or, yeah, bring him back over and over again. We don't know what's going on. Maybe they'll leave some sort of big loose end for us.
Yeah, you never quite know exactly what NCIS is going to do. I would be fine if you want to make Christopher Lloyd like a recurring character for like every season here on out. There's no problem with that. But we will be back on Tuesday to discuss this episode further. You never know. We may have more stuff along the way. We'll certainly have plenty of NCIS after the fact.
And we will have that interview coming up. So
Yeah.
Make sure you go to CARTERMATT.com next week to check it out.
Yeah, and I think there'll be a lot of interesting stuff to discuss within all of that. But for now, what do you guys want on NCIS Season 17, Episode 20? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store. And we'll see you here next time.